that guilt, brothers and sisters, is a major tool of manipulation that keeps you and I locked up inside, and we beat ourselves up. And we've got to find a way to handle our guilt. Now understand, I'm going to move on here. I'm not saying that you ought not feel guilty over stuff you do. Yeah. I'm not saying you ought to just walk away from dogging folk feeling like it's cool. Yeah, I know some of y'all clapping back on Facebook when they talking about you. But what I'm saying is, when I do stuff that is not consistent with Christly character, somebody needs to tell me how to deal with myself after I made a mistake so I can move on to be everything God has changed me to be. I don't need to be somewhere that beats me up over what I did. I don't need to be somewhere that makes me feel lower than a duck's foot about what I did. I need to be somewhere that can help me recognize what I did, help me struggle through what I did, but tell me I can move on from what I did to be everything God has designed and created me to be. You've got to learn how to get over it before you get under it. Come with me now. Come with me now to the text, and we'll discover we see David showing us how to deal with guilt and move on in your life. The situation comes about. You know the story. Even if you ain't been in church in 12 years, you know the story. Because of an ugly mistake that he made, he's anointed as the king, but he makes a mistake. I ain't even got time to preach that. He's anointed, but he still because you do know that as saved as you are, you still struggle. You still make mistakes. Come on, saved folks. Here he is, saved, making a mistake. You know, all of us have those things that easily beset us. Those kinky proclivities that keep popping off. Yeah, come on, I ain't scared of nobody in here. I dare somebody to come up. That it keeps popping up in the midst of all of your savedness. That demon that just keeps calling your name. Come on, be real today. Oh yeah, well David is in the house when he should have been outside the house. Because the story goes on that tells us and says, at the time when kings go out, David was at the crib. Yeah, I ain't trying to preach this, but I need to tell somebody the quickest way to let the enemy have entree to your life is to not be where you're supposed to be according to who you are. That was a freebie. But when you ain't where you're supposed to be, as it relates to who you are making yourself an easy target for demonic activity. So David, I got to get out of here. David gets up from taking his nap, goes on to the balcony. You heard the story, don't you? And the devil knows how to make your focus get out of place. Am I right, brothers? So don't brothers, I need you, don't leave me hanging. So David turns, y'all, and on the other side of the balcony is this fine sister, minding her own business, glistening in the noonday sun, as a piece of fine, feminine, African procritude. David looks over there. Y'all don't like procritude, but let me tell you this. 34:26. Oh no, that was the wrong dimensions. See, I'm trying to 36:24. 30. Am I right? Am I right? Brothers, don't leave me hanging. Glistening off in the sun. And he says, I've got to have that. He sends word. Find out who homegirl is. Come on, you know the story. Don't fake the funk. Don't sanitize the Bible. They find out who she is. He comes back over and says, well, that's cool. I know that she belongs to somebody else, but I know how to keep things on the DL. Tell your neighbor if they don't know what DL means. Tell them, Because I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. I don't see nothing wrong. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So he calls her over. Psst, psst. Let me holler at you. They get their swerve on. We got kids in here, so I'm trying to be PG, you know. They get their swerve on. And she gets pregnant. Brenda's having a baby. Y'all know the story. Give me a drink. I need a drink now. After she gets pregnant, David decides he's got to get rid of her husband. Because guilt, when not dealt with, will make you do other stuff to make you cover up. Come on, everybody saved it here. I see everybody trying to act brand new. I don't know what you're talking about, preacher. I ain't know. To make you cover up what you did that you felt guilty about. In other words, if you tell one lie, you got to keep telling. Yeah, I know kids in here, but I'm just keeping it one. If you tell a lie, you got to use another one to cover it up. Thank you, sir. I'll keep it right here. So he has Uriah killed. And now Nathan comes to the scene with a prophetic voice to make David face his stuff. And in this text, David now is feeling the pains of guilt over the stuff that he has done. That he has violated everything spiritual, social, ethical, and personal. And now he is left to deal with the calamity of his consequence. He's got to be hurting on the inside, but he's got to deal with Bathsheba's pain as well. Y'all, she's committed adultery and is pregnant by a man who's not her husband. Yeah. See, I know you all watching LMN and Days of Our Lives. I don't even know if Days of Our Lives come on again. The Bold and the Beautiful, and you thinking all of that is cool, but right here in the Bible is happening right here. Yeah, it's her first pregnancy, which ought to be shown with joy. But it says she's got to hide in the back of the castle. She loses her husband, who is a monogamous man. She loses her Uriah, who was a one-woman man, and ends up living with David, who's a 40, 50, 60-woman man. Sound familiar to anybody? Things that make you go, She used to be the only queen in the house. Now she's just a thoroughbred in the stable. And now David is faced to look at her every day, at the pain on her face, for everything she's lost and for everything she's gone through. Then on top of all of that, the child dies. And after all of David's pleading, the child dies. Bathsheba walking around with an attitude because she lost her husband. She's just a horse among horses in the stable. She ain't no longer the queen of the castle. That David's dealing with his own guilt, being the king, representing God, messing up like he did, and he goes down fasting and praying, and the child still dies. But when you read the Bible, the Bible says David didn't wallow in guilt and pity, but he gets up, gets his grub on, and he goes to church. Now, all I'm trying to tell somebody today is if David could have all that and get over all of that and move on, who are you to think that whatever you got going on, that you can get up and move on in your life? That if David can get over all of that, there's nothing that you can go through that you can't get over. And I'm looking at somebody today that in here today that you ain't in a palace like David, but you're dealing with some stuff that you've done. And the devil is messing with you over your issues and making you feel like you can't go on. The devil is a big liar. He's got you sitting there going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, because you're feeling evil for what you've done. You sit there dealing with people around you who act like they've never done anything in their life, and now you are eating on yourself because of what you've done, and you feel like you can't go on. You feel like you got to hide. You got to isolate yourself. Yeah, you shut the shades and don't go nowhere. You stop picking up the phone. You still got rollers in your head and pajamas on your body because the devil is beating you up over your mistakes. But I've got to flip the script today. Come on, tell me, flip the script. I've come to shout somebody today that mistakes wasn't meant to destroy you, but mistakes can be used to develop you. That if you find a way to get up, God will find a way to get you on. And is there anybody in here that can say, you know what, preacher, you're right, I've made some mistakes. But the only reason I'm here today is because when the devil tried to destroy me, God used it to develop me. What the devil meant for evil, God turned it around for good. And you ought to help me turn around and preach to somebody, even if it's an imaginary friend named Susie, and say, you better get over it. That was the wrong neighbor. That was Alice in Wonderland. Tell somebody else. Look them dead in the face. Tell them, you better get over it so you can move on. Tell them, you better get over it so you can have a life, boo. You better get over it, boo-boo kitty, because God is not through with you yet.